Whether you're in the studio or on stage, singing locally or touring nationally and globally, speaking and singing consistently without taxing your voice can sometimes be a very daunting task. Hey everybody, my name is Manny Cabo, and today I'm going to share with you 3 of the most important techniques to help singers and speakers keep their voice in tip-top shape in any situation. Now, this past weekend I was in Rochester doing a photo shoot for Throga Records, and I happened to catch up with my dear friend who not only holds 2 incredible world records, but is also the best-selling author of Throga, The 7 Dimensions of Singing. That's right, I'm talking about my dear friend Richard Fink IV. So stick around, guys, I've got a fun one for you. Let's do this. And remember guys, if you're loving the videos, then please hit the red subscribe button and help me build the brand. And also don't forget to click the little bell notification just to the right that lets you know when I've uploaded a brand new video. As always, thanks for the support. Hey, what's going on everybody? Manny Cabo here. Welcome to another episode of Mojo for Musicians, the channel that offers all the value for all my fellow artists to pursue their dreams with passion, offering value to help you sustain your career. Today I have a very special guest, a good friend of mine. I have the honor of saying that, yeah, I can call you a friend.
I think we're at that point.
I think we're at that point. Not only have I had the pleasure of working with Richard Fink IV on his personal projects, artist branding from a photographic level, but he has also helped me get out some serious, well, let's just say emotional moments for me as a singer. And once I reveal what they are, all you singers out there will understand what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Fink IV. Thanks so much for doing this, brother.
Okay, thanks for having me part of
this.
Awesome.
This is incredible. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring you on here is because you were like this walking brain for the voice, you know, and it really shows, and it's a testament to how valuable you've been to me as a singer. Now, you've been with me while I was on The Voice, just recently on La Voz, and I reached out, guys, just to give you guys a quick aside. And my main concern, and I think a lot of singers can relate to this, it was getting tired, you know, having enough oomph to sustain the TV interviews, all the talking that you have to do on these shows, aside from the vocal lessons and, of course, the performance. And I reached out to Richard and I said, listen, what can I do to strengthen my voice? And you had some incredible feedback, and you had like this plethora of stuff that you gave me from nutrition, which, by the way, if you stick around till the end of this episode, we're going to give you a nice free bonus, so don't go anywhere. We talked about nutrition, we talked about vocal techniques, and you talked to me about the things to do, whether it's prior to performing, doing your lesson, or whatever the case may be. So I'm going to let you elaborate on that because that's your forte.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. Well, first I want to point out, I think there's an irony in the statement, and for those of you who are familiar with Manny's voice, when he says that he's concerned about the strength of his voice,
that's me.
Yeah, but the irony of that is that most people hear you sing, like, he's got a strong voice. Right. You got a big personality. It shows up in your voice, your projection, your range. It's all present. Right. So when I heard you ask me, you were concerned about the strength, I knew immediately it wasn't about your capacity to sing loud or strong for long periods of time. What you were asking was, how do I sustain the skill sets, the strength that I have? Right. And there's a big difference between those two things.
And you nailed it.
How do I get strong versus how do I have the endurance with the strength that I have? Right. Because when you're in that setting with the voice, for instance, like you said, it's not just the interviews and that. You have that anyway because you're gigging enough where you're always having to speak and work on your brand.
It's a lot of stress on your voice.
It is, but it's also time stress. Because in this situation, you're not sleeping in your own bed. You're in a different environment. There's different allergens. There's different food. Your sleeping behaviors are different. You're interacting with new people. So your routine that allows you to sustain what you've built up over the years is all of a sudden thrown under the bus. So what it comes down to, and this is what we talked about, I remember talking about saying, it's not that 3 minutes that you're on stage singing that one song, right?
I remember that, yeah.
It's the 23 hours and 57 minutes around that.
That's another huge thing. I wanted to point that out because that hit home with me because it's true. It's your regiment of what you do. Yeah.
And it's because you already know how to sing. And of course, we all have room to improve. There's all, different dimensions of the voice that may be out of balance that you can dive into more, of course. But strength is one thing I felt you have in spades. That's something you've spent decades building into.
I paid him to say that, by the way.
Not at all. Not at all. And so really what we're looking at is not what you do on stage. It is exactly that. It's the time around that. Because that's what's going to allow you to sustain. And it's being aware of your instrument. It's you drag it with you when you're off stage. You're not taking your larynx out, putting it into a little SKB hard shell case and putting it under the bed, right? And then going about your day.
Sure.
It's dragged with you everywhere. Right. Every interview, every sneeze, every cough, every laugh,
100%.
every tear, right? So there's a level of abuse that's taking place. So the sustainability, the strength of your voice, the stability of your voice is based on how you treat it. And that comes to awareness. And that's really what we talked about when to prepare for those.
So indulge me. Let's rewind to our conversation. And I'm frantic, guys. I'm there. I'm about to perform. There's no pressure. You're performing in front of millions of people worldwide in another language, of course. So that's just adding insult to injury. But I reached out to you.
Help you with.
Exactly.
You're on your own on that one.
Yeah. So I said, Rich, I have a big concern here. And ironically, I was sick for my blind audition. Brutally sick. 103 fever, the whole nine. And I was also sick during my battles. Right. Now, could I have prevented that? What to do? Let's pretend I'm a neophyte. I have no guidance whatsoever. What would you recommend me?
So for just looking at kind of like the top three scenarios.
Perfect.
Right? Just for the maintenance. So number one is getting enough sleep. And that seems really obvious, right? Because your body is your instrument. You want to have sleep. You want your body to have the opportunity on a cellular level to recuperate.
And let's face it, musicians aren't used to that. Like, we're used to the nocturnal life.
We're night owls, exactly. Right? We have a tendency to just ignore the most obvious thing. Right. But your body needs to recover, needs to flush things out on a toxicity level, but also on a brainwave level, right? To kind of reset.
And that makes sense.
It's an unconscious meditation on some level for sleeping. And that is usually one of the first things that goes out the window. Again, you're meeting new friends, you're in a new environment, maybe different time zone, all those things. Sleep is vital. I don't care how much skill you built up. You could have years of quality skill. Your technique might be perfect on stage, but if you're sleep deprived, those mechanics get thrown off pretty easy.
Well, I'm a testament to that.
That's huge.
Yeah, it affected me wholeheartedly.
Now, I understand you can't always force yourself to sleep, but you can force yourself to have time, the opportunity to sleep. That is something you're in control of. Power naps, things like that, 20-minute naps throughout the day, an hour or an hour and a half, and that gets into circadian rhythm in terms of why different lengths, and that's a whole other interview in itself. But, so sleep's huge. Another obvious basic that singers are notorious for skipping, I'm looking in the general direction because we all fall under this, is a lack of hydration.
Yeah.
The United States in particular, we live in a state of perpetual dehydration because we have so many choices that taste so much better and so much more interesting, but they also have more additives that make us addicted to those things, the sugars and the salts and all those things. So hydration and drinking enough water throughout the day. Your voice, your larynx, your vocal folds will never care that you want it to vibrate at 440 times per second to get that A. It has no emotional investment. It just responds to what the brain tells it to do, right?
Exactly what you intake,
if it's not lubricated, if you don't have enough water in your system, okay, and if it doesn't reach the folds where it's lubricated enough to vibrate at those incredible speeds, they're going to get puffy. Because that repetition, that vibration,
start to swell,
heat and swelling, right? And then all of a sudden, even if you've got great technique, right, it's not going to work. It's like if you don't put oil in the engine of your Ferrari,
it'll burn out. Yeah,
it's not going to run the way it's designed to run. So you have to be proactive. You can't wait until you're thirsty. You're way too late at that point.
Now, do you have an amount per day? A gallon, half a gallon? What would you say?
Well, the simplest answer I like to use is if your urine is clear.
Yeah.
Basically, your body's saying, I got nowhere else to put this. I'm fully hydrated. I can't store it anywhere else. There's a lot of math behind looking at 1 ounce per half, 1 ounce half ounce per 1 pound of your body weight. And you know, there's some cool formulas out there that puts you in a good place goal wise.
Right.
But we have different metabolisms. We have different, you know, we're in different temperature areas,
climates, the whole nine.
It's just everything, right?
So there you go. Until your pee is clean, then you're ready to
there you go.
belt away.
And then at that point, you can start to just kind of sip water and maintain. So sleep 1, hydrate number 2.
Okay.
That's just allowing your instrument to be in a position to express what your skills are.
Right.
So the third step is to vocalize.
Okay.
So quality vocalizing means warming up. For my technique, for Throga technique, that means following the Throga guidelines. That means
how do they find that? That's one of the things I wanted, because I tell you, it's been imperative, and it's been such a huge help for me. So I want my viewers.
I appreciate that. So basically, just go to Throga.com. It's THROGA.com.
Take a look at it, guys. Seriously.
Yeah, and you'll find it there. But look for the guidelines, and you can take any exercise that you already know, something you might have picked up on YouTube or from another vocal coach or a friend backstage. If you apply the guidelines to whatever that exercise is, it keeps you in check. It keeps you balanced. It makes sure that you're not cheating the routine.
Right.
So you're letting your voice cut out where you should. You're maintaining your volume and your form. Basically.
Those exercises really do keep you honest. They really do.
Huge difference. And I love that you said that, because that's what needs to be.
Right.
If you perform your warm-up, if you perform your training, then you might as well just sing a song.
Yeah.
You're just practicing what you already know.
I remember, I had to cut you off there.
The cheats. Yeah.
I remember doing a lesson with him in my car. This is how desperate it was, because I didn't know how to tackle the sickness. And we were going over the Z exercises, which is zzz. And I remember singing it to you. You're like, no. You're singing. You're performing it. Go be honest with yourself. Stop showing off. If you run out of air, that's a good sign. Come back when you have it.
So basically, exactly, you're actually seeking the imbalance.
Right.
You're looking to discover.
That's interesting, right.
You're looking to discover, where don't I have control? And that lets you know there's your threshold, at least in that moment.
Right.
Every day is a little bit different. Look for that threshold, set up camp, and call it home.
Right.
You want to spend time in the place you don't have control over, because that's how you're going to progress.
Right.
And that honesty is so necessary.
I agree. And you gave me those exercises specifically. Please tell them which ones they are, because I really want you guys to go over this. It helped me significantly.
A favorite of mine, just to make sure you're kind of stretching the folds. You're giving yourself the opportunity to give some elasticity of your vocal folds, which, by the way, are this big, about half the size of your eyelids. They're really small. They're housed inside your larynx. We're just going to stretch. So we're going to start with, and I'll have you do them right now.
Sure.
We'll start with like a head voice, falsetto sound. So it's up high, but comfortable. There's no force, just an M. We're going to do a give it a try. So, of course, the singer in him wants to go, this is the note Richard did, so I'm going to do the same note.
I'm trying to perform it right now, because I'm in front of the camera. Come on, Rich.
Did you see his posture? Like, went right into performance mode. It's so intuitive. We want to sound good. That's not a bad place to come from. But when we go to like the real gym to work out, per se, it's not about, an athlete goes in there, it's not about getting the ball in the basket in the moment. It's about good form and isolating certain muscle groups. The mechanics, the coordination. That's what we're looking for, is the coordination. So instead of trying to match my note, just think high, okay, whatever that is for you, and just bring your voice down. Let your voice respond to it. Try it again. So good memory to the start pitch.
Right.
Try it again. That's a little bit cleaner. So it's a little bit less effort. We're looking for an effortlessness. And if you heard at the end, he went into what's called the vocal fry. So the folds stretched at first. The folds are stretched, they're vibrating really fast, and they're relaxing, thickening into an irregular vibration.
And that's actually one of your other exercises.
Into the fry, exactly. Yeah. So that's where we're leading, actually.
It's a great
so
exercise.
One step ahead. So you hit a... And that fry actually has some therapeutic qualities to it. Mostly it's just teaching you to spend less, okay? And it's allowing the folds to vibrate and loosen up a little bit. It's not necessarily the sound you might want in the song, depending on the song you're singing, but it's not a forced sound. And you demonstrated that perfectly, because it was just lazy.
Well, believe it or not, and that's a good point. Love the word, because I use that naturally. If you want to get a little sexier, you want to lay into the microphone, you're like that, and you want that raspiness, kind of helps your voice. And it's almost like, wow, I've done this before in exercises.
It gives it a little bit of sustainability, so you can mix it into your style if it's right for you. But in the exercise itself, it has a purpose. So you want to have that clear, effortless sound cascading down into the fry. So that's a simple one you can do while you're driving, while you're in the shower, while you're doing dishes, whatever. And there's many. There's so many more we can go into, of course.
Well, we'll stick with 3 today, but
yeah.
Definitely.
So, but yeah, getting sleep, allowing your body to just reset itself, staying hydrated, meaning you're thinking ahead and lubricating your vocal folds, and just doing a simple warm-up is going to allow some elasticity to allow you to express whatever skills you have for the stage. But a warm-up doesn't make you a better singer, right? I could stretch my legs all day, but it doesn't mean now I can magically breakdance. Right. And I can.
Do you have like a magic formula, like say, for example, before you go into your vocal session or before you actually do your performance? Do you recommend something really quick, be like, try this before you do that?
So one kind of a fail-safe scenario is if you go through your songs without the lyrics. So if you run through it with like a lip trill, you know what I mean? Just go through.
And I've done that. It's a great exercise.
Just to work yourself through it. You can do the Z's. It's a little bit more mechanically difficult, but again, the goal there is to have a steady hiss sound with it. So if you go through the song.
And again, guys, it's imperative. In order to find these exercises, please inform them where to go.
Check out the website. Check out the app. But the point is you work through the songs without the emotional investment of the lyrics, and that mechanically gets you set. So that's kind of a cool way to kind of prepare going into it. Now, on the flip side, I want to mention these real quick, is maybe a few things not to do.
Please.
So those are 3 things.
I think those are more vital because I guarantee that predominantly most of the viewers on here are probably going to be or have a higher tendency of doing the don'ts than the do's.
Sure. and that's why they exist, of course.
Right.
So number 1 is not to abuse your instrument. I know that seems really broad, but we're talking about, again, circles back to what we started with, is that you're with your instrument 24/7.
Right.
So, don't go on that roller coaster screaming 2 hours before the show.
Right.
You know what I mean? Avoid whispering and yelling, and just be aware that your instrument is always with you. What I used to do is I used to take a black magic marker and just put a V on the back of my hand for vocalize. So it reminded me to vocalize, but more so reminded me that my voice was with me. And it sounds a little silly, but we take this for granted.
We really do.
It's like I don't need this conversation right now. I could just text it. Or I can simplify my response.
Write things down.
Or write things down.
I do that.
Exactly. So you can make changes in your routine. Give yourself 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, sometimes a few hours rest if you need it.
Now I'm going to be the devil's advocate. I have the luxury of being a freelance artist. I make my own hours. So if I decide I'm going to take a day for vocal rests, and everyone knows not to call Manny, I write everything down, I'll text everything. What if you don't have that luxury? Most of us, believe it or not, work in 9 to 5. They're the telemarketer or they're sales.
So. Yeah, you're on the phone all the time.
Exactly.
So in that case, if you're going to use your voice, use it to your advantage. So you want to use what's called prosody. So that's the melody in speech. So if you're on the phone all day, let's say you're a telemarketer, that's a good example, or a salesman kind of thing. I like to reference Jay Leno here, right? Because he'll go up like this and then he'll
animated
come back down,
voice,
right?
yeah,
really animated because he's almost using a glissando. So it's stretching the head voice and then back down. I'm not saying you have to sound like a cartoon or mimic Jay Leno, of course.
Well, it's like here I'm interviewing, so tell me, what do you feel like?
That's
and this
exactly right.
So
sometimes we're like, I got to sing tonight, so I have to protect my voice, and I don't want to be dynamic. I don't want to wear it out. That protection, being monolithic with your voice and your tone, that's going to fatigue you faster.
Yeah.
Whispering is going to fatigue you faster because you position your folds in a tight position to create the sound, and you want to start wearing yourself out. So you don't need to get loud, but you don't want to get airy. You don't want to get too gravelly. You want to stay hydrated, like you talked about, and you can do that little thing we just talked about. That in between.
Those are great.
Yeah, just in between calls, just little touches like that. And again, be strategic.
People will look at you funny, especially your family members, but they get used to it because you got to do it. They really will.
It's a good way to weed out friends really fast. The true friends will stick around. But again, this isn't skill training. So if you want to become a better singer, if you want to have more coordination for singing, you have to think beyond just the warm-up.
Right.
You want to get into other exercises to truly train your voice.
Right.
Warming up gives you access. Hydrating, getting enough sleep gives you access to what your skills are. Right. But if you want to improve your skills, you got to spend more time in the gym. There's no way around that.
Very well
said.
Now,
the other thing I want to be careful of is not to over-medicate. So if you're dealing with maybe you have a head cold, right? Or like you said, you had a fever and things like that. It's easy to want to just numb everything.
Cough, phlegm, all the, the notables.
And you want to get into, exactly, so you want to get into like cough syrups and things like that. So you feel good because you knock out the symptoms, right? But you didn't get rid of the problem, right? So then you start adding more air pressure and more force. You end up fatiguing yourself quicker.
And you stress yourself out more.
You really do.
I know I did.
Which leads into the third don't. Don't panic.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest, because panicking, worrying about that third song in the second set or that one high note or whatever it is, the emotional connection, which is a beautiful thing, the emotional connection to wanting it to sound amazing and putting that pressure on yourself, worrying about, oh, I'm sick, therefore I can't do that. That stress physically is far worse than just coughing your way through the song.
Well, I have to admit that's probably the most consistent answer that I've received on The Voice, on La Voz, and all the vocal coaches would say, Manny, why are you giving that energy? Let it go. If you're sick, you know you're sick, but don't mention it. Pretend you're not.
Don't use it as an excuse.
Exactly. And it makes it does heighten the stress even more.
It does.
And you feel it, you feel the stress in your vocal
cords. But this
cords.
is why having your subconscious programs, meaning your skill sets, your coordination, your years of singing and experience, you have to rely on that at some point. It's kind of like if you're on stage, and I'm sure you've had this too, if you're on stage, you're singing, but you can't hear yourself, right? How many times have you had that?
Never.
That never happened.
Yeah, right.
It was perfect in sound check, and all of a sudden, I can't hear anything.
Somebody hit the suck button.
There's a lot of those.
Yeah.
So you're singing, you can't hear yourself. What amateur singers will do is they'll try to compensate by wanting to hear
Screaming
themselves.
louder,
They do this so they look awkward, and they push into the microphone to try to hear themselves and feel the sound, and then they wonder why they can't get to the third song. Right? If you trust yourself, if you built up years of trust that I can't hear myself, but I know I'm on the right note because I've built that skill, you have to trust your subconscious programming. And it's the same with efficiency.
It's like building your muscle memory. You don't have to worry about being sick because you've already trained your body to do with this.
That's exactly what it is. Muscle memory is the muscles don't remember anything, right? It's a program up here, and your muscles respond. So it's trusting that you've put the time in. And if you didn't put the time in, then you're going to panic. And then you learn the hard way.
Well, guys, I got to tell you, we could be on this topic all day long, but thanks for keeping it down to 3.
It's a rabbit hole.
It really, truly is.
A great one.
So thank you guys for joining. And I got to, this is as an aside, but not only is Richard a completely learned individual on Throga, on the throat, on vocal techniques, but you also hold a couple world records on the longest note and the longest scream. I got to talk about that. Just make it quick, a quick minute. But how did that come about?
The longest scream is funny. So I had the longest note, which was at the time was 1 minute and 43 seconds of a single sustained note on a single volume.
That's insane.
So that was in 2009. And then in 2000, I don't know what it was, a few years later, I got a call from Captain Morgan in Dublin, Ireland. So
it's the rum, company, Captain Morgan, the whole
company called me up and said, hey, Pirates Day is coming up. And they said, we want to do something special. So we're going to fly you out to Ireland. So this is like a week later. So they flew me out to Ireland and said, we want to get this into the Guinness record. So they came up with, they wanted me to do the longest scream, but to bring it into the Pirates theme, it was in an arg. So it had to be arg. It had to be like an arg.
How long did you hold it for?
So that was, I don't even remember. It was,
well, I'm sure it was long because you got the world record, so I'll take your word for it.
It was 40 seconds, but it had to be like over 80 decibels. It had like all these criteria with it that was there.
That's insane.
And then it went back and crushing it.
You set a new standard for death metal. Scream metal.
It's a boring song, dude. It's one note.
So
listen,
real quick, and I just want to let everybody know, you're also a bestseller of your book, Throga. Do we even, you would think we would have a copy accessible?
Oh, yeah, you know what? I got one.
And here you go, to all my Latino peeps, we also have the version in Spanish. So that's a copy of the book.
And that's going to be out in just a few weeks.
That's fantastic. I wish I had this thing one. when I was there. So 7 Dimensions of Singing, the Throga Technique by yours truly here, Richard Fink IV. Guys, go pick this up. I'm telling you, I'm not endorsing it because I like him, which I actually don't like him, but I do like the book. But definitely do yourselves a favor. If you're serious about your singing, if you're serious about speaking or anything that has to do with the voice, you got to pick up Throga. Go follow Richard on all his social media handles, which are?
So we've got on Instagram is Throga_vocal coach. Facebook is just Throga. And Twitter's Throga tweets.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thank you so much for doing this for me.
Absolutely.
It's always been an honor and it's always a pleasure working with you.
Of course.
To all you guys out there watching, thank you so much for joining. Yours truly, Manny Cabo from Mojo for Musicians. And please forward this, share this video if you think these videos bring value to any musician that's out there. As always, much love and peace, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care. Dude, thanks again, man. This has been incredible.
Thank you, man.
And remember, guys, as promised, don't forget to follow the link in the description to download your free copy of Tips for Singing When Sick or Fatigued and the Nutrition Guide for Singers. Thanks again for watching.